Have you ever tried to explain how you feel and walked away from the conversation feeling smaller, unheard, or somehow wrong for even bringing it up? Maybe you started with something simple. You said that something hurt you, or that you felt ignored, or that you needed a bit more effort from them. And instead of listening, they got defensive. They raised their voice. They shut down. They changed the subject, or they turned it back on you. Suddenly, you were no longer talking about what hurt you. You were defending yourself, explaining your tone, explaining your reaction, explaining why you even brought it up. You might feel like you are talking to a wall. No matter how calmly you speak, they take it as criticism. No matter how carefully you choose your words, they act like you are attacking them. You end up reassuring them instead of being reassured. You might notice that you feel more like the responsible one, like the adult in the room. You are the one who thinks things through, the one who calms things down, the one who apologizes first just to stop the tension, the one who worries about how they feel. While they act on impulse, say whatever they feel in the moment, and then expect you to adjust around their reactions. Over time, this dynamic makes you feel like the parent rather than the partner. You start to predict their moods. You avoid certain topics because you know how they will react. You hold back your feelings because you are tired of every conversation turning into drama or denial. You begin to walk on emotional eggshells, carefully stepping around anything that could upset them. Maybe you feel confused a lot of the time. One moment they seem fine. The next moment they are angry, distant, or cold. Small things turn into big reactions. A simple question becomes an argument. A gentle comment becomes a personal attack in their eyes. You might find yourself thinking, did I say something wrong? Am I asking for too much? Why does it always end like this? You may also feel guilty for even wanting to talk about your needs. They might say things like, you are too sensitive. You always bring up problems. You never let things go. And slowly, you start to wonder if maybe they are right. But deep down, there is a quiet part of you that knows something is off. That part of you feels drained after every serious conversation. It feels heavy in your chest, tired in your mind. It feels like you are carrying the whole emotional load of the relationship. Their reactions seem big and intense. Yours get pushed down or dismissed. They explode or shut down. You regulate, you calm, you fix, you smooth things over. And while you are doing all of that, your own needs, your own feelings, and your own exhaustion are pushed to the background. Emotional immaturity feels like being in a relationship where problems never truly get resolved, where you keep circling around the same issues without any real change, where you feel alone, even when you are not physically alone. Emotional immaturity has nothing to do with age. Someone can be 30, 40, or even 60 years old and still respond to life with the emotional patterns of a child. Emotional maturity is about being able to sit with feelings, regulate reactions, communicate honestly, and take responsibility when necessary. When these skills never fully develop, the person remains emotionally young, even though their body and adult life move forward. This is why emotionally immature adults often react the way children do. When they feel uncomfortable, defensive, or criticized, they cannot slow down and think. They react instantly. Their emotions take over. They may raise their voice, shut down, deny what happened, or blame someone else. For them, The priority is escaping discomfort, not understanding it. Impulsiveness is one of the clearest signs of emotional immaturity. They say things without thinking. Their emotions spill out quickly. They act on impulse instead of reflection. They may storm out, withdraw, or lash out because controlling their reactions feels impossible in that moment. Avoidance is another common behavior. When a conversation becomes uncomfortable, they run from it. When an issue needs attention, they distract themselves. When you try to talk about your feelings, they turn away emotionally or even physically. To them, avoiding the problem feels safer than facing it. Denial and blame also play a major role. Taking responsibility requires emotional strength. It requires the ability to tolerate shame or discomfort. Emotionally immature people cannot handle these feelings well, so they shift blame onto others. They say things like, "You made me do this," or "This wouldn't have happened if you hadn't said that." This protects their ego, but it damages the relationship. A lack of empathy is also central to emotional immaturity. They struggle to understand someone else's perspective. If they don't feel something, they assume it isn't real. This is why they say things like, "You're too sensitive," or "You're overreacting." In their mind, if they aren't affected, the problem must be you. This makes communication feel one-sided and deeply invalidating. Communication itself becomes difficult with emotionally immature people. They interrupt. They get defensive quickly. They change the subject. They turn conversations into arguments. They shut down instead of listening. And above all, they avoid accountability. Admitting fault feels threatening to them, so they rewrite the narrative in a way that makes them feel safe. This rewriting of reality can be subtle or obvious. They may insist they never said something, even when you clearly remember it. They may claim events happened differently. They may minimize or distort the truth. Sometimes they genuinely believe their altered version because their mind protects them from feeling wrong or exposed. They may say things like, "I never said that," or "You misunderstood," or "That didn't happen." They rewrite events because taking responsibility feels too threatening. This leaves you doubting your own memory and questioning your own reality. At the core of emotional immaturity is a simple truth. They cannot handle emotional discomfort. Any criticism feels like a personal attack. Any request feels like pressure. Any serious conversation feels overwhelming. Their emotional world is fragile, so they react instead of reflect. They defend instead of listen. They blame instead of take responsibility. Understanding this does not excuse their behavior, but it helps you see the root clearly. Emotional immaturity is not caused by you. It is not something you can fix by trying harder, being more patient, or staying quieter. It is a limitation within them, and recognizing this allows you to stop personalizing their reactions and begin seeing the dynamic for what it truly is. When you are dealing with an emotionally immature person, the most important thing to understand is this. You cannot control their reactions, but you can control how much access those reactions have to your inner world. Protecting yourself does not mean becoming cold or distant. It means becoming steady, clear, and grounded in your own truth. The first layer of protection is setting boundaries. Boundaries are not punishments. They are limits that protect your emotional well-being. A boundary can sound like, "I won't continue this conversation if you raise your voice," or I need time to process before I respond. Or, I am not responsible for fixing your emotions. A boundary is simply you deciding what you will and will not tolerate. Emotionally immature people may resist boundaries at first, but that resistance does not mean the boundary is wrong. It means the boundary is working. The next layer is not taking their emotions personally. Their reactions are shaped by their inner wounds, their fears, their insecurities, and their undeveloped emotional skills. They are not reflections of your worth. When they shut down, blame you, get defensive, or explode, remind yourself quietly, this is about their emotional age, not my value. That shift alone can bring profound clarity and peace. Staying calm and neutral is another powerful tool. The more emotional they become, the more steady you must remain. Not for them, but for yourself. Speak slowly. Breathe deeply. Do not match their tone. Do not mirror their chaos. Emotional immaturity feeds off emotional escalation. Calmness breaks the cycle. Calmness protects your energy. Choosing your battles is essential. Not every behavior needs a confrontation. You do not have to defend yourself every time. You do not have to correct every distortion. Some things are irritations, and some things are emotional injuries. Save your energy for the issues that truly matter. This reduces conflict, protects your mental health, and prevents burnout. Encouraging reflection without triggering defensiveness is possible, but it requires softness. You can ask questions such as, "What made you feel that way?" Or, "How do you think we can handle this better next time?" Or, "Can we slow down and understand each other first?" These questions open a door, but they do not guarantee the person will walk through it. Their capacity for reflection depends entirely on their emotional maturity. This leads to an important truth. Real change requires self-awareness, accountability, and emotional work. Emotionally immature people rarely change unless they make a conscious decision to seek help and grow. You cannot heal their childhood wounds. You cannot teach them empathy. You cannot force emotional development. You can only influence the environment around them, not the inner world inside them. Sometimes distance becomes necessary. Emotional distance, physical distance, mental distance. Distance is not punishment. Distance is protection. When someone repeatedly drains your energy, invalidates your feelings, or destabilizes your peace, creating space is a form of self-respect. It allows you to breathe, to think clearly, and to reconnect with yourself. And that brings us to the most important part of protecting yourself: reclaiming your emotional stability. You do this by grounding yourself in your truth, by trusting your perceptions again, by honoring your feelings instead of fighting them, by remembering that you are allowed to say no. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to choose peace over chaos. Emotional immaturity does not have to take your identity from you. It does not have to shape how you see yourself. When you understand the patterns, and when you know what you can and cannot change, you take your power back. You stop absorbing their emotions. You stop blaming yourself. You stop carrying the weight of their unprocessed feelings. You return to yourself, and that is where your healing begins.